Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis. You guys, we're gonna do a photo. We want you to take out your cell phones and turn your flashlights on. And then Geena and Susan, if you'll have you stand right here on this tape. Perfect. And then we'll have you turn around and face the camera this way. And they're gonna go crazy. Yeah. Okay. Are you guys ready? We're gonna do two of them. Ready? On the count of three, go nuts. 1, 2, 3. All right, we're gonna do one more, guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Oh, here, sit next to the table. You got your drink ready.
There, so you can have your tea right next to you.
Thank you.
Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis, welcome to FanX in Utah. Have you two ever been to FanX before?
This is amazing.
This
I
is
gotta
amazing.
say.
Yeah, this is awesome. Wow.
So impressive.
Yeah.
I feel like an important person.
Well, you absolutely are. And the two of you together, I know I speak for everyone out here when we say, we love this. We love this. 33 years since Thelma and Louise, and it just feels right that you are back in Utah, where more than 50% of the movie was shot near Moab. We feel like this is our movie. Was it as hot and dusty as it looked while shooting outside of Moab?
Yeah, it definitely was. But it kind of was, we had a good time.
Oh, we had such
and
a
I
good
gotta
time,
say
yeah.
that, you know, the script could have been done in a very small, intimate way. And it was really Ridley Scott who put it in this incredibly dramatic, heroic setting, like all the John Wayne movies, and, you know, that made it into something iconic. Because it could have just been something little and intimate and whatever, but actually, when we were doing it, we would always, going to the set and coming from the set, they would be shooting footage just because it was so beautiful, and we had this fear that we were just going to end up a voiceover because the vista was so gorgeous, and luckily that didn't happen. Yeah.
Geena, I read that you wanted to play Louise, not Thelma, at one point. Is that true?
Well, so I read this script. Somebody slipped it to me and said, these are the best female roles out there, you gotta read it. And I loved it and wanted to be in it, but it was already cast. But I was so obsessed with it that I started meeting with my acting coach to work on the movie when it was already cast. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I did. But
That's called manifestation.
I guess, yeah. And then weren't there like 3 sets of Thelma and Louise before it was us? Or
Definitely
at least
didn't
2?
come to me first.
Well,
you know,
or me.
definitely.
Yeah. So my coach thought, I think you're, old enough now that you should play the more mature. You've played some kind of youthful characters. You play the more mature character, and so we worked on that part. But then
I ruined it.
and then you ruined it. No, Ridley finally decided. There were 3 directors that he went through and didn't work out, and he decided he was going to direct it himself. So then he said, yeah, I will meet with Geena. She's been very persistent. And so I'm pitching him for why I have to be in this movie and I have to play Louise. And I'm going on and on. And he says, I see. So in other words, you wouldn't play Thelma. And there was a slight pause before I said, what's so interesting, Ridley, is as I've been talking, I've been listening to myself. And it just doesn't sound right. So I realized I actually must play Thelma.
Smart.
And then I just made shit up about why I absolutely had to be Thelma. And thank God Susan was Louise. Yeah. And I was like, when I met her, I was like, what was I thinking that I could play Louise? Anyway.
Okay, should we talk about babyface Brad Pitt already? I heard George Clooney auditioned for that part.
Well-
Is that true?
Well, so there were 4 finalists.
How do you know all this?
I was there.
Oh.
No, I was there. Ridley had me read with the 4 finalists for the part of JD, and one came in and read handsome, brunette, whatever. Another one, equally good. I'm like, I have no opinion about it. And then the 4th one was Brad Pitt, and I was like, hi. And
Your jaw dropped even then, like your jaw dropped.
my jaw dropped. And everybody had memorized this scene, but I had the pages, I was reading off the pages. And so we start the scene with him, and I say, hey, where are you going? And he says whatever he says, and I'm like, do you need a ride? And I couldn't, pay attention. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm screwing up your audition. He said, it's all good. So then he left, and I said to Ridley and the casting director, would it be interesting at all to hear my opinion? And they were like, yes. And I'm like, the blonde one? But the other ones were Grant Show and Mark Ruffalo and George Clooney. Yeah.
I mean, that's a star-studded cast.
And they would have all been
Right, they
great,
would have all been great, but Brad Pitt.
Well, Ridley, he's the one that chose it.
Susan, did you want this role from the beginning?
I came in late. No, I didn't know anything about it. I'm in New York. I'm completely out of the loop all the time. So I read the script, and I'd heard about it, and I met with Ridley, and I had a few things that bothered me in the script, and we had that conversation. Bothered me in that there was a whole scene at one point in the script where the boyfriend comes and they have sex and they pretend to get married and I was like, I just killed somebody because I was raped. I don't know how to get back to that, but I could get back to that, but then I'd have to cry a lot, and then the next scene, Brad's there and steals the money and I cry a lot, so is that what you want? And he was like, you know what, I think that scene is probably not a good idea. I've had other people, that pointed that. So we had that kind of a conversation, and then it just worked out. But I didn't have this manifestation trip that was going on with Geena, because I honestly, it kind of worked his way from LA to New York later, I think, because that's where I met with him. And then he was incredibly collaborative, really, because there were a lot of things I was like, well, where are they coming from? Because I can't tell from the script. And he said, well, who cares? And I said, well, because we have to choose an accent. He said, just use that accent. And I was like, this is New York. This isn't anywhere near the South. So can we figure that, stuff like that as an actor you care about. But Ridley is such a visual genius, really, that kind of stuff didn't really wasn't important to him. So we kind of talked about that stuff and moved some dialogue around and did some other things. And he was very collaborative, which was not his reputation
Especially
at the
you
time.
had so many great ideas. You really brought so much to it.
Thanks. But we were, just asking questions, trying to make it more specific. We started finding things that we had to decide, like how long are they on the road to make jumping off a cliff sound like a good idea? What happens at that point? how tired are they? How much? Well, you got to go to bed, but I didn't. But yeah. But since I was driving, I had to be the one.
So speaking of that ending,
Yeah.
did you like that when you read the script? I know they fought for the ending, right? The screenwriter did. Was it supposed to go another way?
I just said to him, listen, am I going to really die? Because I don't want to have this tested and then the next thing you know, we're in Club Med or something. I need to hit, and Ridley at that time said, I know you will die. I'm not sure if you push her out of the car at the end. And by the time we got to the end, which was the very last day of shooting, we kind of had earned the right to go over the cliff together. And then there was a lot of dialogue at the end, which was like too much for them to be talking
In the
about.
script, right.
In the script, that we moved to a chase sequence because at that point, we all really felt that we would be like finishing each other's sentences. And then I said to Geena and to Ridley, how do you feel about me kissing you? And we had one take because it was by that time magic hour and the sun was going down and they'd spent all day on the helicopter and the police and Harvey. And so we really had to do it.
That wasn't scripted. That kiss wasn't scripted.
No.
And that was one take, that kiss. That was it.
Yeah, Ridley, unlike almost anybody else I've worked with, shot close-ups at the same time. So it was the same take, and they had two cameras going, and that was it, that one take. Yeah, it was amazing. And it was like, and then the sun goes down, and I looked at her, and I was like, oh, that's the end of this experience, working with Susan and everything, and it was very emotional.
Perfect, and then we didn't die, so it was great.
That's always great.
If you had shoved me out of the car, I would have run and jumped off the cliff.
I know you would have.
You know I would have. I wouldn't have let you go alone. Ah!
All right, I know we have a line of people waiting to ask a question. Let's bring the first one to the microphone.
Is there any way to turn the lights up in the audience so we can
So you can see
people?
everybody? Yeah, can we do that?
I would love that.
Okay, go right ahead.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Crystal, and I just want to say thank you for coming. It's really an honor to have both of you here in Salt Lake, so thank you. And
You're so welcome.
I also want to thank you for both of your work and all that you have done in your careers and continuing to do. I want to say Thelma and Louise maybe don't live, but they live in our hearts. And so thank you for all of the work you do and the topics you touch. What are you most proud of that you have worked on in your body of works?
Proud of? Nobody's ever asked me that before. Which one did you like the most? People say it. I always say this, but I think this. I think this movie for me, yeah, definitely.
I mean, aside from my kids, which really.
Oh, I was sorry. I thought she was limiting it to films that we've done.
Don't copy me. Don't copy me. No, I'm kidding. No.
My kids. It's my kids.
Yeah, because this will get back to your kids, That's such a tough question because I always feel like a little bit of Sophie's choice, like you have to pick one of your babies, and so I'm very proud of this one. Because I also love the way it turned out, which is not always the case. Because there's so many more ways for a movie to go wrong than right by the time everybody gets in there with their vote and the score and the whatever. And I think Ridley just got it perfect. But I'm proud of Dead Man Walking because I found the book and produced it. And I didn't expect it to be the success that it was, and I love Sister Helen, and we're still very close, and so that one kind of goes on, and that also changed things. Because I think films, and I don't mean that. I think every film is political because it either reinforces or challenges the status quo. But I think that, like The Nutty Professor, I consider a really serious challenged because you want her to go off with the guy that you would never think that you would want her to go off with. That's a very interesting thing to put yourself in that guy's position. But I think that just the experience of doing films for me, is what I look for, is the fun of it. It's the fun of Stepmom, even though, that happened. I produced that, and I was very proud of that. And I'm really proud that I'm still standing, and that I'm not a drunk or bitter or a drug addict, because this is not an easy business to grow old in, and it's because of you guys. Thank you.
What do you two think about the fandom that has followed 33 years later, Thelma and Louise, and why do you think it still resonates decades later?
Well, it really holds up. Every 5 years or so, there's an anniversary, and we end up watching it again, and we're like, damn, that holds up. But it's still true. What they go, it's still true. I remember very much how when it came out, all the press was saying this will change everything. There's going to be so many more movies starring women, female buddy pictures, female road pictures, and just wait. And I was thinking, hot dog, we changed everything. And yeah, we didn't. It didn't. It didn't change everything. So, we still have so many of the same problems. Things that are incrementally better, but...
I got some fan mail, especially from kind of the heart of the United States, the heartland, and saying that the Rocky Horror Show woke me up, and after Thelma and Louise, I left town. So I don't know what that inspired people to do, but I'm all for being I think films that encourage you to be the protagonist in your own life are really wonderful to be able to get out there. And for me, every film that I've ever made is some kind of a love story. I just think that is the most brave thing you can do, is to be intimate with another person. And I don't mean even sexually intimate, but just to open yourself up to the possibility, to keep your heart open. I think I love to just encourage people to do that, which I know is so difficult, especially these days. But so I think that some of these films that we've done and have had that element of encouraging people to be the protagonist in their own life. And there's nothing more satisfying. And one of the reasons I love doing the Comic-Con thing is because you get to talk to people and you hear how your work impacted their lives. Sometimes, my mom and I watch Little Women every Christmas, or, Thelma and Louise, or the Rocky Horror Show, or some of the oddest ones. I had somebody come to me the other day who recited an entire scene from James and the Giant Peach. All right. And I was like, wow, that's so great. Or even films, there's one where Elle Fanning is transitioning that Harvey Weinstein completely screwed up. And I didn't even know that anybody saw it because he didn't want to release it. And then somebody today handed me a DVD of that film, and I never even knew that it was out there. So, more power to the power of imagination and film and projection and everything.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, I'm Kristen. My question is for Geena. My favorite movie is A League of Their Own, and you were amazing as Dottie. So amazing, yes. My question is what did it feel like to be among so many amazing female characters?
Yeah, it was amazing, and we all bonded tremendously. We still consider ourselves a team. We're going to some event next month or something where all of the Peaches are going to some signing thing. I think it's Chicago. But it was spectacular. But I tell you something interesting. While we were shooting, a lot of press came to interview us, and while we were shooting, and every single interviewer said, well, first they would say, is this a feminist movie? like as if I'm saying something really naughty, and I would go, yeah, it is. I'd say, well, of course, women are doing something men typically do, yeah. But then they would say, so it's all women in the cast. I suppose there's lots of cat fighting, and women too. And I was like, shut up. No, we don't. Women bond when they work together. You know, women are fantastic working together, yeah. We look out for each other. We were very bonded. We were very bonded.
We were in a sea of testosterone, and so we were definitely bonded.
Exactly. And every
Cigar smoking, wild men.
yes, and every couple of days, Susan would say something like, "See how much fun it is to work with women?" And I'd be like, "Yes, it was."
Okay, you've been excited. It's your turn. Jump in there.
Yeah, I'm excited. What's up? Okay. So sometimes when you're working on a film, you don't look at it and say, this will be iconic. You don't think it's going to go anywhere. What is the little engine that when you were making it, you didn't expect to become this big, glorious thing that still chases you to this day?
What do you mean by chases us?
I am going to go to your booth today and freak out about James and the Giant Peach.
Aww.
So, like, something that keeps showing up that when you were making it, you never expected it to be that film.
Well, this one.
Right?
Never did I thought we were making like a cowboy movie with trucks, you know, and cars and driving a lot and having a good time and working with another woman. Yeah. But Dead Man Walking, we expected to go straight to video, and it made over $100 million. I mean, that's a hard watch. I don't think I ever go in expecting anything to be successful, but just try to get whatever I can out of it while making it. And that's kind of my philosophy that I figured out pretty quickly, because you just, you know, sometimes they don't even spend the money to put it. I have had a number of films that just, especially if it doesn't cost a lot to make it, then they don't want to invest in it. And that's why sometimes festivals are really great, because when the audience has a reaction to something, then the studio goes, oh, maybe we'll hold on to that. Let's invest a little bit more, you know, because it's so much easier to say no, so much safer to say no than it is to support something, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. We had no clue. We were stunned. A week after it came out, you know, it kind of exploded in the press, and a week later, we were on the cover of Time magazine. We were like, who thought this was going to happen? It was really something, yeah.
Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Heather, and this is for Susan. How did you like working with Melissa McCarthy when you guest starred on Mike and Molly?
Great. I did 2 episodes, and she directed one of them. The second one, I think it was the one that she directed. And I think we'd already done Tammy in between the 2. I can't remember now exactly. But she's just a genius comedian. And I have to say that after Thelma Louise, one of the few things that really seemed optimistic about women in film was the emergence of all of these great comedy writers and actors. When Bridesmaids came out and everything, there started to be a lot of women who had power derived from Melissa and Tina Fey and Mamie Poehler and all of those people who started to make some really fun movies. But I had a great time. I love her very much. She's a great gal, as is her husband who directed Tammy. But she was fabulous when we were I really had fun doing that.
What comedy makes you laugh? What do you watch when you want to laugh?
Oh, now I went blank. Do you know?
Well, Bridesmaids was
Yeah,
huge.
of course.
Yeah, I have to
Bridesmaids,
watch
too.
that over and over, yeah.
But I think I like a lot of dark stuff. Makes me laugh. I mean,
You get dark and
edgy, kind of
Edgy,
weird
okay.
stuff also makes me laugh. I'm completely, I'll think of it when you ask the next question.
okay, when we ask the next question. All right, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tracy, and first of all, your movie was an inspiration, I believe, because women like me hadn't seen anything like that before. So I think that's why we all grasp onto it. It's something just totally different in its time. So my question to you is, you kind of touched on it. I wanted to ask about your bond, so then I'll go a little further on that. Do you guys have the kind of bond where you would drive off a cliff together if needed?
She's my ride or die.
Love
There's
it.
no question. No question.
How is your, I would like to really know about your friendship.
Well, we're on different coasts, right? So we're not going out shopping together. I check in with her, she checks in with me. I think in our business, the grace of maintaining friendships, especially friendships that are built on mutual respect, and I do respect Geena not only for her talent as an actor, but all the other work that she's done, and I've borrowed from all of her statistics that she's been rounding up all these times to try very gracefully to change the business in the way that she has. I think that you can maintain connections even when you're not seeing somebody all the time. So I think that's kind of the kind of friendship that we have, and that's built on mutual respect. And this I consider Thelma Louise definitely one of the most important films that I've had a part of, because a lot of what it has done socially, and it seems to, like we said, hold up. Even Harvey's accent was better than I remembered.
I agree.
Right? When you saw it again, yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, so my question is for Geena, and I was wondering, in A League of Their Own, did you do the scene where you did the splits and catch the ball? And how much baseball did you do yourself, or how much was a stunt double?
Absolutely, I did the split. But if you ever watch it again, so I go down to the split, catch the ball, and then I suck my legs back together and stand up. I didn't do that. I went down in a split, and I was like, "Are we cut? Okay, help me up." And there was a stunt up, because you got to have insane muscles to just, do that. So I didn't do that. It's from the back. I did most of my stunt. In fact, there was a stunt where I catch the ball behind my back, and the stunt girl was having trouble with it. And I said, I want to try. I have an idea that I could do it. So they were dropping the ball, off a big high ladder, of course. And I figured if I let the ball come right at my head, and I move my head, then it'll go in the glove. So that's what I did. I let it almost come and hit my head, like that. So that was me. Yeah.
I love you both. I love your entire body of work. I'm a stepmom. That really affected me when I was young. But my question is really for Geena. I tell anybody who will listen to watch Earth Girls Are Easy. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. Can you share any memories of that? I know that you and Jeff aren't, together, but I always envision you guys together, and I love all of the guys in it. I love you in it. Can you share any experiences from it?
I loved it. Yeah, I had fun. And Jeff and I were married. We did 3 movies together, and in 2 of them he was not human. He was a fly in one and an alien in the other. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, and Jim Carrey and Damon Wayans were in there, and it was a musical. Although they dubbed my voice, I don't have a kind of a voice like that. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It was just really fun. It was so silly, and the director it was his first film, and anything you thought of in the moment, you're like, hey, we'd be walking to the set, and hey, that's an interesting looking thing. Let's start shooting in front of that. And it was very freewheeling. It was fun.
Go ahead with your question, sir.
Yeah. First of all, thank you both very much for coming to our FanX. Welcome, both of you. I have a little question for Geena, and then a second one for Susan. Geena, what was it like with your experience filming Beetlejuice? And then Susan, if Tim Burton were to do a third Beetlejuice film, if you would be in it if he asked you?
I love Tim Burton. I think that he's just wild, and yeah, I would do anything. There's, you know, trying to find a director that actually has a vision is harder than you might think. And one of the reasons I always ask somebody when I'm approached about a project is, why do you want to do this? And it's surprising how many people don't have an answer. So Tim Burton is one of those guys who's really an auteur, right, in the pure sense. So of course I would love to work with him.
Yeah, I mean, I read the script and fell in love with it, and then I got to meet with Tim Burton about it, and I said, listen, I get this movie. I get it. I really understand this movie. And he told me later that he cast me because he felt like he didn't get it. And he thought it would be, you know, convenient to have somebody on the set who could explain to him what the movie was about. But it was great fun. Yeah, he really is an auteur. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Go right ahead.
So I grew up watching Little Women in a League of Their Own, and I feel like both of those films were really foundational for my feminist journey. Sorry. So you both are feminist icons to me. And I'm wondering if you have feminist icons that you look up to.
I can't say that there were a lot of people. I mean, I certainly admire Sister Helen Prejean. She's unbelievable. She's like in her mid-80s, and she's still fighting to save lives and to make a change. And so she's definitely someone that I look up to. But I've met so many people you wouldn't know. You know, locally, people, women that are ordinary women doing extraordinary things. I mean, give yourself a hand. Just trying to raise a family in this time's economy, just trying to keep your kids safe, just trying to, you know, be there for them is not an easy thing. And when I work with various organizations, and I'm just kind of, you know, coming in once a week or whatever, but you meet people whose whole lives have a purpose and who are working every day to make the better world. That's who really moved me.
Forgive me. I embarrass Susan sometimes, but Susan changed my life more than any other human being in my entire life. And the reason was, for some reason, I had never met or spent extended time with a woman who says what she thinks without putting qualifiers in front of it, basically. Everything I ever said was, this is probably a stupid idea, and I don't know, you probably won't like this, but what do you think if we possibly... And from the day I met Susan, we were meeting with Ridley Scott about the script, and Susan would say, I don't think we need this line. Why don't we cut that line? And I was like, what? And I looked at Ridley like that he should say, how dare you say that? But he reacted completely normal. And it's complete, you know, it was just so foreign to me to be somebody who could say what they think. So one day, we were coming back out from lunch, and Ridley caught up to me and said, Geena, this afternoon we're doing a scene where you guys are driving along and you're just feeling so great and you're feeling so free. What would you think about if you sat up on the back of your seat as you're driving along and you're like, woohoo, and you take off your t-shirt? And I said, I think they need me to have lunch right now, so I'm gonna just go have lunch. And I find Susan, who's eating lunch, and I say, Susan, Ridley wants me to take my top off this afternoon. And she says, oh, for heaven's sake. And goes and finds him and says, Geena, Geena's not taking her top off. And comes back, and I was like, oh my God. You know, but it changed my life. It really changed my life. I got, for 3 months, to go to school in how to just say what you think without apologizing for existing. And so it helped a lot.
Susan, were you always like that, or
Well,
did you
can
develop
I
that
just
skill?
say that in terms of the script, she did get an Academy Award, so it wasn't like I messed it up. Can I just add that?
Yes.
She was the one that got the Academy Award. We were nominated together, which apparently was a big deal. I didn't realize that two women, because usually they make one the leading actress and one the supporting actress, even when they all have the same size role, because strategically that makes more sense. But we actually did everything together and lost, but we did everything together.
You lost together. Were you always that? Have you always had this ability to just speak your mind with no apologies?
No. I don't. I was always asking questions. I'm a lapsed Catholic, and I remember being thrown out of, second grade because the nun was explaining to me that you only were really married if you were married in the Catholic Church. That's the only way it counted, was to get married in the Catholic Church, which was confusing to me because I asked sincerely, then how were Joseph and Mary married if Jesus didn't make it up till later, right? So that's the kind of person I was when I was small, but I wasn't someone, I'm not even comfortable speaking in front of a crowd or anything. I'm actually, it was confirmed during COVID, I am an introvert. I like being alone by myself quietly, and I'd never had that because I'm the oldest of 9, and then I, just coupled very quickly, and so no, I always wanted to clarify things, and I've always had ideas, but for me it seems more like a journey asking questions, which I do directly because I'm not very cool, or yeah, and so maybe that comes off as being brave, but it's really just because I'm trying to understand, and I feel as an actor, it's your job to try to make things as specific as possible. So it's not that I necessarily have answers, but I definitely have questions. And so that's kind of more,
Right.
Because I want a director who has a vision and who has an opinion. And I think together, as Tim Burton relied on you, you find it together, and that's what's so addictive about the collaboration and forming a tribe and on each thing that you do, and some are more successful and some are not, but it's the process of this collaboration that for me really hooks me. That's what I find addictive, and the fact that you can never get it completely right also makes you crazy, so you want to keep going.
Right. Yeah, no, you exactly, you were always questioning things about the script and saying, what if we do this or whatever, or that, and it wasn't like there was nothing, people adored you, everybody loved you, and nobody said, well, I kind of like Geena better because she's so wimpy. She's like much more just weak and wimpy. There was nothing confrontational about it, ever. It was always just like, what do you think? This is what I think, and all that.
Thank you. And you were not weeping.
All right. What's your question?
Yes, my question is for Susan, and it's in regards to Rick and Morty. With voicing the doctor on there, kind of how did you get that role? Were you approached, and how have you enjoyed it?
They approached me. My son told me it was very cool, and I told them if they would give me a lot of merch for my kid, I would love to do it.
Easy enough.
And it was so creative, and so I'd love to be part of that.
Okay.
What's
Hi,
your question?
I'm Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Both of you are in a lot of things that I'm a big fan of. In particular, The Client is one of my favorite legal movies. And there's a lot of talk about Ridley Scott and Tim Burton in this. I want to know, for the both of you, who is your favorite director that you've worked with?
Well, I've worked with a lot of incredible people, of course, but my very first experience working on a movie was with Sidney Pollack, who's like one of the greats of all time, and that like was such an extraordinary experience to be treated. I didn't know what it was going to be like, you know. I didn't know if there was Tootsie. Tootsie was my first movie, and I was really worried that I've never been on a set. Maybe people are going to yell at me. Why don't you know what to do or whatever? And he was so accepting and respectful. He loves actors. He's an actor himself, of course, and it was just magical to come on as such a new, inexperienced person and be treated like a peer. When I was mostly in my underwear in that movie, yet I was treated like a peer. So that was for me.
I don't know, because there have been some films that I've worked on that have been very difficult for one reason or another, but that I still felt that the exchange really made my mind larger, and that I found empathy in a different way. And so I value those experiences. But sometimes they were frustrating. So I don't know if I'd want to have lunch with some of those people. They're not, no, if they're my favorite people. But I felt that the I hate to use the word journey we were on, but the journey we were on was a really enriching experience. So I think there's some people that I would like to hang out with, and other people that I really respect the difficulty of the fun of the exploration. And yeah.
It's so true. The Bachelor ruined that word. Journey. Didn't it?
There are actors too that I really, when I start to talk about acting, it for me feels a little bit like explaining a joke. By the end it's not funny. And you know what I mean? And so when people start to get into craft, I start to cringe a little, but maybe that's because I never took acting, so I don't have any craft. So I don't know, maybe that's just my problem.
Okay, we have 45 seconds. Time for one more question.
Well, I'm so glad I made it. I am wondering what your favorite scene is from your quirky movies. I want to know what your favorite scene is, Geena from Beetlejuice, and your favorite scene, Sarah from Rocky Horror. Susan, sorry. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I know who I am. It's all
right. I don't know. The thing that just kind of stood out vividly was there's a scene where I'm going to escape the house, and I open the door, and there's a yellow sand, and there's a sandworm. So we're shooting the scene, and I throw open the door, and I go, and then Tim has like a speaker or something, and he said, "Geena, the sandworm is very tall." Okay. That was, I've had a lot of experience acting with things that aren't there, like Stuart Little and stuff, so I kind of enjoy that.
During the shooting of Rocky Horror Show, we were in studios that were freezing cold. I was in my underwear, and then I was wet. So I got pneumonia, and I worked half the shoot with pneumonia. And so I won't talk about that part because that was not comfortable. They did put something up to heat me to heat all of us went into, which was this just kind of screens with a heater in it, and then that caught on fire. So that went. So this was a very low budget film. You might be getting that impression. But I think I love Peter, who is the Rocky, was very, very shy. And I recently saw him again after 1 billion years, and he is painfully shy. And when we did Touch Me, I think I set him back I don't know how many years. That was like, he wasn't singing because he wasn't a singer. He wasn't an actor. At that point in London, there was nobody that had a gym. So there were no people that they couldn't find guys that had muscles in London. These are all the behind the scenes. You're getting special info now. And they found him, and he wasn't an actor. He wasn't a singer. He was traumatized. And he was so sweet and still is so sweet. So I remember that as being, a very interesting passage for him and for me, grabbing him more than he was grabbing me. And the other one that I really loved, because the only way I got in that movie was that I had become friends with Tim Curry when they did it in LA, because a friend of mine was in LA in that production. And I went by to say hi. This is a long answer, sorry. I went by to say hi, and they said, oh my God, why don't you read for this? And I was like, because I can't sing. And they said, no, I'll do it. Anyway, cut to, I do it. And the scene where Tim comes down in the elevator on stage was one of the most dramatic to this day theatrical moments I've ever seen on stage. And he just owned that moment and owned that crowd and owned everything that was going on. So when we did it in London, freezing, and he came down in the elevator, by the way, the house that we shot in had no roof. So you think I'm exaggerating and just being a pussy, but that house was cold. He came down in that thing, and it was so gorgeous, and we just loved him so much for that. So that also really sticks in my mind as one of my favorite weird-ass kind of moments.
Thank you for your questions. Oscar winners Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis, thank you for coming to Salt Lake City. Thank you for coming to FanX, and thank you for coming to the panel.
You guys, one more time, give a huge round of applause for Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis.